What's up guys, I'm J-Man, and let's go under the sea and talk about an old Disney favorite, The Little Mermaid. The movie that started the whole Disney renaissance that every child of the 90s grew up with, adored by little girls everywhere when it came out, and even today there are still plenty of women who enjoy it avidly. It tells the story about a mermaid named Ariel, one of the 7 daughters of King Triton of the sea. One day, she sees a handsome prince named Erik, and immediately, she falls in love. However, her father absolutely forbids her from going anywhere near humans or even the surface of the water. But Ariel decides to go to the sea witch Ursula for help, and she gives her legs in return for her voice. She spends much time with Erik, desperately trying to get him to kiss her so she can stay the way she is. Unfortunately, Ursula has devious plans herself and hypnotizes him. Soon she gets her voice back, but it's too late, and Ursula steals Ariel away. King Triton offers himself in place of Ariel, and soon Ursula steals the crown and grows to become the real monster she is. Erik manages to save them all, and the sea is safe once again. All her old prisoners are returned to normal, including King Triton himself. However, Ariel is still in love with Erik, but she can't have him. So her father does the most selfless thing he could ever do. He makes her human, and she and Erik live happily ever after. Most of all, Ariel learns a very important lesson throughout her whole journey. And that lesson is... Actually, what does she learn in the movie? Nothing, really. Yeah, once you really look at it, the main character has no real arc in the movie. She never changes. What does she want? To be with Erik and to be human. But the fact is, she pretty much gets that halfway through the movie anyway, and by the end she doesn't exactly learn anything valuable about being a mermaid. Maybe you could make the slim argument that she learns to not trust people who deal in black magic or something, but even if that was the case, that's something that's just kind of fleeting in the movie and not really focused on at all. So if the main character never changes, I guess that makes it a hollow movie, right? Well, not necessarily. There's actually 2 people that have significant character arcs in this movie. They are King Triton and Prince Erik. First, let's start with Triton, since he's the most obvious one. Triton starts out very prejudiced against humans. We're not told why in this movie, but given the information that we're shown in Little Mermaid 3, it's something along the lines of, humans killed my wife. So after finding out that Ariel has rescued a human, he goes mad and trashes her room. Typical parenting, really. Ariel decides to do the unthinkable and turns to the Sea Witch, who apparently hates Triton with a passion. So the main villain, or villainess in this case, is actually the enemy of King Triton and not the Little Mermaid herself. So really the title character is nothing more than a plot device in her own movie. Later, Triton sends the entire sea out in a desperate attempt to find her. It's here where he actually shows genuine remorse for his actions. Towards the end, he turns into a loving father again by threatening Ursula to release her, even to the point of taking her place, which is what any good parent would do. Soon, Erik kills his prejudice against humans by impaling Ursula and saving the entire ocean. At the end, Triton is literally at the surface himself, and Sebastian spells out his whole arc for him.
Well, it's like I always say, Your Majesty. Children got to be free to lead their own lives.
So Triton completes his arc by giving her legs and letting her be with the man of her dreams. So what does Erik learn in the movie? Well, at the beginning, he's actually kind of a shallow guy. He believes in love at first sight. When he sees the right girl, he'll just know. And that's exactly what happens. After Ariel rescues him from the storm, she sings to him, and he immediately falls for her. However, when he sees her again, he completely dismisses her after learning that she's mute. So in a way, you could say that he's not necessarily in love with her, but more the idea of her, or rather just one part of her instead of all of her. He takes care of her and gives her a day on the town. It's here where he gets to know her more, her personality, her exuberance, her naive charm. However, he still holds back from getting too close to her because he's still in love with a piece of her that's missing. Later he's playing her song on his flute, but finds himself confused. It's obvious he's falling for her, but he still wants that dream girl that saved his life. So Grimsby spells out his whole arc for him.
Far better than any dream girl is one of flesh and blood. One warm and caring and right before your eyes.
So Erik throws away his flute, which is symbolic for him giving up on his fantasy girl and is about to propose to her. However, this doesn't necessarily complete his character arc just yet. There's actually more to it than this. Then he hears her voice on the beach, which causes him to get hypnotized, and he becomes a mindless drone for the next 10 minutes. After he's woken up, though, Ariel's voice is restored, and he learns that Ariel really was the girl of his dreams all along. Now, it's easy to think that his character arc might have taken the easy way out here, him realizing that Ariel was the girl from the beach who saved his life, and all the time they spent together was meaningless because she has her voice back now. However, what we have to remember is that the theme of the whole movie is love has no boundaries. So it might be reasonable to think that after she turns back into a mermaid, Erik at the beginning might have rejected her. But because of all the time they spent together, he chooses to go after her anyway. So I guess you could look at it as her getting her voice back was his reward for choosing the girl right in front of him that he got to know instead of clinging to just one piece of her. So I guess there is some character development in this movie after all. Well, I guess that does it for now. See y'all next time. Oh hell, let's talk about the adult themes too. We all love to do that with Disney movies. Ariel getting her voice taken away is actually more symbolic than you might think. It could actually represent her purity, or to put it more bluntly, her virginity, since it's sometimes thought that the moment a girl becomes a woman is when she loses it. As Ursula's singing, she mentions that men love easy women. As Ariel sings, ever notice how her vocalization gets higher and higher? When she reaches the surface and breathes, which, forgive me, I tend to call the Baywatch shot, it's representative of a woman reaching her climax. Another way to look at this scene is a baby being born. She gets caught in a bubble, which represents the womb, and she gets her legs. Then the bubble bursts, representing the water breaking. She quickly swims up to the surface and breathes for the first time. Aside from all that, Ariel is also representative of Mary Magdalene, partly because she has red hair, which is a common portrayal of Mary. The painting she has down in her grotto is actually a painting called Magdalene and the Smoking Flame, which depicts a scenario possibly mirroring Ariel's situation of why a flame burns and other contemplative questions. Mary Magdalene is commonly known as an archetype of the sacred feminine over the last several thousand years of Western civilization, controlled and patronized by the so-called benevolent patriarchy embodied within King Triton himself. The Little Mermaid's name, Ariel, is also a synonym for besieged Jerusalem, much like the character herself, controlled by her overbearing father, the youngest of 7 sisters, kept from being with the one she loved. Even the sea witch Ursula takes away her voice, thus making her unable to speak her truth, much like Magdalene when she was accused of being a prostitute. Ariel's desires are to be human and to be with Erik, which is another way of saying the desire of the devalued sacred feminine is to be united with the divine masculine, not as her savior, but as her partner and equal. At some point, the masculine suffers, and the feminine comes in to lend her strength, and the two come together to forge a new cultural age. Because the prince is not whole without his princess, and the world is not in harmony without love. So those are my thoughts on The Little Mermaid. Now tell me, do you think Ariel has an arc in the movie? And also, what are your memories of this film? Whatever it is, don't be shy, leave a reply. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and support me on Patreon if you'd be so kind. And if you like this video, you can like, comment, and subscribe to the J-Man. Well, that does it for this one. Guess we all gotta grow up sometime.
Always greener in somebody else's lake.